don't deploy GRE tunnels without protection, because you're sending all your private traffic over the untrusted networks, or even if it is a trusted network. For example, you trust your service provider. Well, is your traffic truly safe? Is it truly secure as it's transmitted over the service provider's network? Well, it's not encrypted, meaning anybody who collects that can read it. So you definitely want to consider implementing IPsec. And what is IPsec? It's a framework. It's a framework that contains a whole bunch of different open security standards. And since it's a framework, it's scalable itself. And what do we mean by scalable? Well, look at some of the options we have here for protocols and encryption and authentication and key exchange mechanisms. Well, at any point in time, if a newer option comes along, put it on the shelf. Add it into the operating system of that particular device so that way their users can use it. We don't have to recreate the whole framework. We don't have to recreate the whole security suite. Right? We have a modular approach to security now. And we see that when we're in the security courses with the new advancements we have in encryption algorithms and authentication mechanisms, as well as key exchanging, using elliptic curve models. So these aren't the only standards that are out there, the only options we have. They continuously evolve and grow as each and every day goes by. So what is IPsec going to give us? IPsec, first and foremost, is going to give us confidentiality. Hands down, one of the most important features of IPsec for our dynamic multi-point VPN solutions. Why? Because it encrypts the traffic. And since the traffic is now encrypted, it's protected from prying eyes. So if it is captured, it's not readable. Data integrity. We want to make sure that the data hasn't been modified as it's in transit. The last thing we want is to send data across the network that has a certain information in it, only for it to arrive at the other side after being modified because it was captured by a man in the middle of the attack and then changed. So we have the ability through our hashing algorithms to append a hash to our data as it's being transmitted over the untrusted networks, and then therefore if the hashes match on each end, therefore we know that they are definitely that the data definitely hasn't been modified in transit. Authentication. That's important. Do you want to form a tunnel with just anybody, or do you want to form a tunnel with a legitimate source? The last thing you want to do is set all of this up and then have some rogue device form a rogue tunnel with your hub and start wreaking havoc on your environment, capturing data, accessing remote sites, whatever it may be. So definitely authentication is a must if you're deploying these tunnels over untrusted networks. And then lastly, anti-replay protection. This is an added bonus for us when we are working with IPsec, because it ensures that if a packet was already sent and received by some particular device, that if that same packet arrives again 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later, an hour later, at that point in time, it's no longer a legitimate packet because it's out of sequence, it's out of order, it doesn't match. So if somebody had captured legitimate traffic and are now using that information in that packet or reusing that packet to try and hijack a session or establish a new session, no, it's no longer valid anymore. So it's protecting us from that. So when it comes to IPsec and DMVPNs, keep in mind authentication with pre-shared keys or certificates, as well as encryption. Definitely key components to making sure that our traffic is safe and secure as it's being transmitted over the infrastructure.